Well, how do there, chums? To I, nCaptainSteve, and today, chums, for you guys in the viewerverse, this is a No Man's Sky video on all the reasons why I find No Man's Sky slightly difficult to play at times. So here we go, let's get into this. So firstly, people, the actual multiplayer was one of the things that I said that I loved about the game the most. If you haven't seen that video, hit on up the top right hand corner video for that. That's all the things I like about No Man's Sky. However, there's also something I don't like about multiplayer, and that's just holding an instance open with like 4 players, you know, me and 3 others. It just seems to drop out whenever it feels like it. Somebody just gets chucked out of the group. It's almost like there's some sort of load balancing going on. Weekend missions, it's very rare that I run a weekend mission start to finish without somebody falling out of the group and unable to claim their quicksilver towards the end of the mission. And it really takes the enjoyment out of it. I know that we have a bit of a laugh and a giggle about it while we're actually on stream. We make the best light of it as possible, but it really is frustrating. And it's a little bit immersion breaking as well, so the multiplayer definitely needs to be fixed. I mean, at least we've got multiplayer. Switch players still haven't got multiplayer, and I'm hoping that's something that gets remedied in future. So that's one thing. And also, multiplayer lobbies. Inside of the next gen update patch notes, it said that we'd have 32 player lobbies. That still isn't the case on next gen hardware and console. We get 12 at best, and that's about it. Even on PC, they seem to have throttled that slightly. I've seen instances of up to 20 people in there at one time, but still not 32-player lobbies. Seems to be a little bit of a way out from that. Ever since they introduced the Switch, multiplayer has sort of just dropped off the radar entirely. Hopefully they're reworking it, perhaps, I don't know. But that's another thing that I need to pick up on, is feedback from Hello Games. So the only real way that we can report things to Hello Games is via the Zendesk or through hardware sort of reporting tools, which don't always pop up. Whenever the game crashes or freezes or hangs, sometimes you have to actually power down your hardware. Yeah, I've had to power off my PlayStation 5 a few times for No Man's Sky, and then it doesn't send an error log. And when you submit things over to the Zendesk, you just get a default reply from the Zendesk to say, yes, we've received your request, but there's no sort of checking up on it to see whether Hello Games have actually remedied your actual ticket. You used to at one stage, but now that functionality seems to have disappeared also. So it feels a little bit odd sending reports over to the Zendesk. I'm wondering how it's integrated into Hello Games' studio, and whether they do a deep dive into each one, or whether they just get a holistic view of an analytic sort of approach on how many reports they're getting per console and to what extent. I just feel that communications from Hello Games could be better, especially since multiplayer has been a bit janky now for months on end. It'd be nice to have some sort of development update from Hello Games, or something even on their Twitter space, just to say, we're working on this, we understand that there's a problem, and this is why there's a problem. You know, anything is better than nothing, but silence when it's affecting so many players on so many levels, and it's the community. Now, Hello Games has been up for community rewards on many occasions. However, if the multiplayer aspect isn't working in their game, I really don't see how. And especially since there's been no sort of communication from Hello Games on this score for such a long time, it's not good. Not good at all, people. Now, although the community by and large are great people, I have had it where I've put out sort of like coordinates for a base or some sort of event that I'm trying to host, and I've built a base there, like the egg giveaway, and I've had podiums for people to pick up their eggs on, and somebody else has managed to put a base computer next to my own base computer and then built a giant box over it, or done something crazy to my base, or started adding slime all over it and all sorts of other stuff.
Somebody who's put the slime down. Who's been a naughty so-and-so put the slime down? Who's put slime everywhere?
I haven't got build rights on. This is a little bit weird. Networking. Yeah, it's set to no one. No one can actually put down base parts, so I don't know how they're doing that at the moment. So they must have some sort of PC mod. And I think they're invisible, because they're shooting at the base as well, aren't they? So yeah, someone's completely foobarred up this. So it looks like we've got ourselves a troll.
I always get somebody that basically...
yeah, and I can't actually delete it. So, you know what I said about somebody put down a base computer the other day? It looks like it's an invisible base computer, and somehow they're an invisible player doing this right now.
Yeah. Anybody can see this. It's just an utter travesty. This is what you get with kids that basically are just got no thought whatsoever to.
I don't even think it's a kid. I think this is somebody that's using a PC mod.
Yeah.
And now they're setting off a shed load of fireworks. That's pretty awesome, actually. Oh no, that's crashed my stream. That's crashed our games. So that's what happens.
That's what happens.
Yeah. So that sucks.
So I've had a couple of events that have been scuppered by people in the verse that somehow managed to take over my base build area, and even though I've reported the bases to Hello Games, the base still remains active for all other players that are coming to visit the event. So although that I can't see it, everybody else still can, and they have to report it as well for anything to happen. But then sometimes it removes my base, because it's very hard to report the right base if there's two bases in exactly the same location. So doing in-game events, even when multiplayer is working, sometimes you get people that control you and there's not much you can do about it, is where I'm going with those people. So it takes the fun and enjoyment out of doing online events, because one, you can't get the players all on the same instance, and two, when you do, sometimes you get trolled by people, and there's not much you can do with the reporting tools in-game. Also, when going to run the weekend mission, even though I said that I have a lot of fun doing it every Friday, sometimes it can be really difficult to actually initialize the mission, because when you're inside of the Nexus, somebody else, another random, can go over and open up the mission, the weekend mission, and just sit on it until they've got other players willing and waiting to join. There is no auto matchmaking for that person open up that instance. So if you've already got a fire team, so you've already got your 3 mates and you're ready to rock and roll, you've got to wait for that person to get their team up and ready, which could take ages before you can run your own mission. It'd be nice if we had our own way of running instances of the weekend mission, perhaps from maybe our freighter, or even at a base or something, so I can meet my friends there, rather than having to use the Nexus instance, which is open to all and sundry and to the public. It'd be nice to have some sort of way of running missions in a collaboration with your mates to save this from happening week on week. It would just remove one frustrational level. Okay, so now on to solo stuff. So yeah, we stick with missions. So the missions inside of, say, the mission terminals, inside of the stations, or the Nexus, or inside of pirate stations, yes, they offer a great repertoire of missions. A lot of them are just simple fetch quests, or go here, destroy this, and come back. That sort of stuff. It'd be nice to see more missions and more side story arcs added in. I mean, we've got the Artemis quest line, Tales of the Deep, the metal one, the new metal one that's added in, Outlaws, and so there's a couple of side arcs, and the living ship and so forth. But it'd be nice if there were more missions, especially related to perhaps the NPCs that we see up in the Space Anomaly or Nexus area, because there's 12 or so NPCs. Some of them are shop vendors, but even still, it'd be nice to be able to run their backstories in a similar sort of way as the Artemis quest line. It'd be nice to understand why they're there and who they are, and get a little bit more of their personalities. I mean, after all, they're such beautifully crafted NPC figures, aren't they? But we don't know much about them. We know a fair bit about Polo and Nada through the lore, but we don't know much when it comes to lore of all the other individuals inside of the actual Space Anomaly or Nexus. Now, there was weekend missions from previous year, back in 2022, I think. But yeah, all scripted and written by Greg Buchanan, an actual author. And it was brilliant weekend lore. I really hope they bring that in, because I gave a little bit of insight into some of the NPCs in the Nexus, with them disappearing and vanishing and all sorts of other stuff, which was great. However, all the other platforms, they haven't got to see all this. Now, I'm hoping when it comes to Apple Mac, hopefully that's the last platform they're bringing it to. And once it's over on every single platform, I hope they revisit and bring that weekend mission lore in for everybody to enjoy, because it was awesome. Saying that, if they do it in the weekends, hopefully they fix the multiplayer first. So next up are all the other sort of little mini immersion break-in hiccups, the things that just need a little bit of polish. So it's even like, say, the solar ships. When you land a solar ship inside of the Anomaly or Nexus, once you're out of your ship, just turn around and look at it. It's got no landing gear. The wings aren't fully sort of like undeployed, they're just sort of half open, half closed or whatever. It just seems a bit janky. That sort of thing is a bit immersion breaking, especially if you're running VR and stuff like that. But even not, you know, seeing solar ships inside of the Nexus with no landing gear, or even when you land anywhere else, it kind of, I don't use my solar ship just because of that, you know. It just feels a bit buggy and a bit broken. But there's a lot of things that you can say are a bit buggy and a bit broken. If you go to your settlement and go and talk to your market vendor from behind rather than across the desk, it crashes the game, completely hangs it. You can't do anything, you can't exit, you can't do nothing. Even though that's been in the patch notes a few times as fixed, it's not, it's still broken. There's lots of loose ends inside of No Man's Sky as well that I feel just need to be tidied up a little. It's like the Myth Beacon. You can buy them in the Quicksilver store to your heart's content and use up all your Quicksilver, but what do? They don't do anything since the old Normandy. So why leave them in there unless they're going to be given an alternative use? I haven't been given one. The station overrides, we've had those sitting in our pockets for like, what, a year and a half now. They don't do anything. Give them meaning, give them rhyme and reason, please, Hello Games. Yeah, so there's lots of little things like that that just need tidying up, like the Singularity engine, or the Sentinel ship trails, or that solar helmet that we just can't get right now inside of Quicksilver, despite it being in the patch notes. So yeah, lots of little loose ends that I really hope they tidy up. Now, inside of pretty much every single trailer that came out pre-launch, and even now, it still says every atom procedural, every cloud, bush, tree, everything procedural. Are they though? They're not really, are they? They're just assets that are being procedurally placed. And when I say procedurally placed, they're being placed by Uber Noise, which is a term that Sean Murray has invented. But yeah, they were going to be morphed and changed by the super formula and by a procedural engine that would sort of like morph every single tree so they have unique styling to every single one that you see. That's not exactly true now. They're all very much static sort of wireframes that are just being placed by noise and layered algorithms, which isn't the same. It isn't the same, so I don't think those statements at the start of any of those or of those trailers of every bush, tree, atom is legit. But I hope that it will be one day. I hope we get to see that procedural awesomeness from this engine. But then, now we've got the weakest chain in the link, which is, say, the Nintendo Switch or previous gen. Is the hardware powerful enough to carry it? I don't know whether it is or isn't. But it'd be nice to hear something from Hello Games yet again on the procedural engine and why it's being limited to just placing static sort of wireframes, when right at the start with the whole procedural stuff and the super formula it was kind of suggested otherwise. And going back to yesteryear and all that great lovely footage and trailers that you're probably seeing in the background here, people, we didn't get those lovely Majestic Diplos, did we, that were inside of the E3 trailer that could go wading into the sort of ponds and stuff like that and were beautifully animated. We've got these Diplos that look more like cranes inside of their animation. I know it's a small thing, but come on, we got the butterflies. But we didn't get the rhinos or the lovely Diplos. I mean, we got rhinos, but they don't smash down trees like they did inside of that awesome trailer. So yeah, I would like to see that happening in some way, shape or form. Now, that brings me on to the procedural generation entirely for the whole of the planets. You know, we've got fixed biomes. Now, they did actually say right back in the day, during GDC, that would never be a thing, because players are very good at spotting patterns, so they wouldn't go down the actual fixed biome route, and they would have super biomes. Now, maybe they've gone down the biome route because they've added so much more into game, like the base building and so much more. So, what if they did add an alternative dimension in, like the Void or the Realm of Glass, where they could do anything they wanted, the Hello Game Studio, and maybe inside of the Realm of Glass or the Void, you know, building is restricted. You can't build inside of there, perhaps. And then hopefully we can see some of the procedural engine and greatness that the engine is capable of doing and the studio is capable of delivering in. And if it is too powerful for previous gen or the Switch or any other platform, perhaps just make it a next gen thing. I mean, I would love to see what your engine can do and what the studio can do. And I know it's a bit of a cop-out, only bringing it to next-gen and perhaps PC, but at some point we've got to make this separation, I suppose, to keep with the times, or else you're going to be held back by the previous generation consoles and the Switch in the way that you can move your game forwards. So yeah, I'm hoping you can bring it to those platforms, though, I really am. Okay, as of late, I haven't had many base rendering issues, but I know other players that have, pretty much on previous gen, and it makes visiting and touring bases difficult if you don't know if what you're seeing is the full base in question. It'd be nice if there was some sort of indication of how many parts the base has before you actually teleport to it, and when you get there, maybe a base part counter, even if it's just added to the analytical visor. So if you scan maybe the base computer, it'll tell you how many base parts have rendered, so you know how much has rendered in and how much hasn't, and whether it's actually stopped rendering in due to perhaps the RAM or something of whatever your hardware is running, so you know whether you're seeing 80% of the base or 100% of the base or whatever. And I don't know, it just seems... I've done base tours in the past. I've done a base tour, done an awesome video saying, oh, this is awesome, this is great, and then I've had the actual base owner say, there's a whole building there that didn't render, you haven't seen all of the base. And it put me off of doing my base tours, because if I can't deliver it in full, then why deliver it at all if I'm not showcasing it in its entirety? So yeah, I'm hoping that can be tweaked, I'm hoping that can be fixed, or at least give some sort of heads up of whether we're seeing everything we should see correctly when we're doing a base tour. Now lastly, the end game loop. So I've got over 1,000 hours on a singular save, my main save, which I usually run. Now, I've done everything that I can do. Everything has been S-class, pretty much every recipe has been unlocked apart from a couple that I think are bugged out. It's like the actual Wonders catalogue, the trophies page. There's one on there and I just can't pop it. It seems to be some sort of floral type, trophy type thing. I can't get it to pop. I haven't found anybody online that has. Don't know whether it's a bug, don't know whether it's a feature. But anyways, going back down onto actual planets and doing sort of exploration is all well and good. However, with the fixed biomes, once you've seen one or two versions of a biome, you've kind of seen them all. And the whole intrigue of going over the hill, yes, you've added in Colossal Archives, but all the Colossal Archives do the same thing. And even Colossal Archives seem to be a colossal waste of time because they don't bring anything new to game that you don't find in a station apart from snippets of lore. And it doesn't take you long to unlock all of that lore at a Colossal Archive. I would like to have more rhyme or reason given to, say, the Colossal Archives, but not just that, but also to loot and stuff that you find on planets. And perhaps it scales as you go up inside of the game. I want to see more RPG elements added into No Man's Sky. Now we've got this glorious universe to actually explore, it seems to be that you can get everything on the cheap by either duplication, swapping game modes, or doing other sorts of shenanigans to cut massive corners off of the game. I would love to see that sort of, I don't know, reeled in a little bit, made to be a bit more of a challenge, make it feel a bit more rewarding, and deliver things inside of progression, so make it feel like you've earned those things, rather than sort of just manage to scupper them into the game. I mean, if the features are there, like to toggle game modes, I'm going to make guides on how to cut the corners and how to do it quicker, because that's what people are after when they're searching for content. They want to do it as quick as possible, so I make the content that I know people are going to want to see. But at the same time, if those shortcuts aren't there, then I'll be making legit guides on how to do it the quickest way that the game allows. So I just want to see things tightened up a bit now and make things more gamified, make things more fun, and add in a sense of progression and a sense of reward as well to go with it. But not only that, once you've actually completed the actual game and found out what all the lore means and where No Man's Sky goes, I'd like to see an introduction of a better gameplay loop. We've got 256 or 254 galaxies, however you want to look at it, and they all seem very samey. I would like to see it maybe perhaps even shrunk down to, say, 16 galaxies or universes or whatever you want to call them, and perhaps add a different mod to every single galaxy. So the further you progress, once you get to galaxy 16, it's going to be running like 16 layers of mods on it to make it crazy, wavy, davy awesomeness when it comes to the planets that have been delivered in. There's a lot of mods out there for PC players, and I'm fairly sure Hello Games could deliver in something along those lines to make it feel worth progressing to, say, galaxy 16. And I honestly think 16 is enough, to be honest. 254 is just That's craziness. I don't know why that's a thing. I mean, I know it's, computer logic or whatever, and 256 and 256 color gradients and all that sort of shenanigans, and 256-bit. So perhaps it's got something to do with the algorithms and how it's actually generated, but at the same time, it just seems to be overkill. You've made the game sort of as wide as an ocean, but as shallow as a puddle, and I want to see more depth added into the game is where I'm going with those people in the viewerverse. And it would just be nice to see everything sort of given that sense of progression and deep diving in and trying to get the best you can possibly get, and squeeze in numbers and making yourself as OP as possible, which you used to be able to do, and now they've kind of nerfed that. But it'd be nice to see something added back in for those people that want to do all the min-maxing and get the most out of their actual exosuit, multi-tools and ships. And once multiplayer is sorted out, it'd be nice to see sort of guilds added in, and perhaps even raids, and also threats and bosses perhaps on planet surfaces, especially with the corrupted sentinels. I mean, they're awesome. I love the spider tank, but it'd be nice to have something bigger and nastier than the biggest of spider tanks. I mean, we've got walkers in normal mode that feel more of a threat than the spider tank that we get currently on the corrupted sentinel worlds. It'd be nice to see some sort of corrupted sentinel walker, or a giant freaking spider tank, or even a scorpion or something, I don't know. But it'd be nice if they sort of switched it up a bit. It's like, we've got all those exotic biome planets that have got all the weird exotic trophies on. It'd be nice to see actual boss creatures appearing on there, be them weird alien entities or something. Perhaps defeating them activates the boundary failures on that planet. I don't know. There's 101 ways that they could introduce giant predatory fauna or bosses into game, be those sentinel or otherwise, or even like the Void Mother, in a raid type style. Perhaps you have to team up with mates to take them out, but like I say, at the moment teaming up with mates to do much just doesn't seem to hold, does it? So yeah, there's a lot that needs to be fixed, there's a lot that needs to be polished up, and I hope Hello Games take the time out to do that on every single platform and to get the best out of every single platform. Once it's over on Mac, I hope they turn their attention to doing a whole round of polish, massive reams of polish and patches, because at the moment the game feels like it's being held together by sellotape and a prayer and a miracle, and sometimes all three of those don't come together at the same time and things fall apart. So there you go, people, that's kind of where I am with all of this, and I hope you've liked some of the things that I've expressed here, and please sound off inside the comments. I don't want this to come across as too sort of moany or critical in any way, shape or form. I just want the game to be the best it can be and as polished as it can be. I want the game to feel more like a game than a sandbox. I don't know whether that's ever going to happen. It started to happen. I mean, at the point of Origins, it felt very gamified, it felt like it had a sense of direction, but then adding in the game toggles to actually make it into creative whenever you wish, so you can get things on the fly, felt more sort of aligned to the sandbox. So I really don't know where Hello Games is going with the direction of No Man's Sky. It'd be nice if they could put out a bit more comms around the direction of No Man's Sky, and whether it is a sandbox or whether it is going to be a game, just so we know and we can sort of set expectations, or at least keep them in check. Anyway, people, that's everything that I've got for you, and I'm hoping we get an update sometime in June. I think in the first week of June. I think it's going to be the Mac update. Anyway, salutamondo, people. Take care. Goodbye, and goodbye again.